of questions asking about the correct option. Regarding the fifth cranial nerve, it arises from the midbrain or involved in the blink reflex, or provides sensory innervations to the whole face, or innervates the muscles of facial expressions, or arises from the second branchial arch. Exam questions are usually only 4 options. Here we have 5 because we are practicing. So the fifth cranial nerve, where does it arise from? Midbrain, pons, and medulla and spinal cord. The fifth cranial nerve, the trigeminal, arises from 4 nuclei. It arises from the main sensory nucleus in the pons, mesencephalic nucleus in the midbrain, and spinal nucleus in medulla and upper spinal cord. These give rise to the sensory root. The motor root is from the motor nucleus in the pons, and in the end, fibers from these 4 nuclei arise from the anterolateral part of the pons. So first option is not the correct answer. It's involved in the blink reflex. Here we need to memorize the blink reflex, although it's a physiology subject, but we need to memorize it here. Sensory fibers from the cornea run through the fifth cranial nerve, trigeminal. Through V1, they go to the pons. They reach the main sensory nucleus in the pons. And if you remember from the physiology, this is responsible for R1 response, which is the ipsilateral closure of the eyelids. As it goes to the ipsilateral, lateral facial nucleus in the lower pons, and then it supplies the ipsilateral eyelid muscles leading to closure. While R2 response, the fibers convey sensation to the spinal nucleus, and from the spinal nucleus it goes to the ipsilateral and goes to the contralateral facial nucleus, supplying the orbicularis oculi of both eyes. So this is the difference between R1 and R2 response of the blink reflex. So this might be the answer. It's involved in the blink reflex. Option 3 provides sensory innervation to the whole face. This is the face, and from the tragus it's divided into 3 parts. Line from the tragus to the lateral canthus, and line from the tragus to the angle of the mouth. This is supplied by ophthalmic, supplied by maxillary, and supplied by mandibular, V3. So sensation from the whole face is supplied by the fifth cranial nerve by trigeminal, except the angle of the mandible. This angle is supplied by branches from C2 and C3, just like the greater auricular nerve supplying this area and supplying the auricle. And Arnold's nerve from the facial is supplying the external auditory meatus. So this is not correct. It's not providing sensory innervation to the whole face. There is an exception here, the angle of the mandible. Option 4 innervates the muscles of facial expression. So muscles of facial expression are supplied by the facial nerve, not by the trigeminal. So what's the function of this motor nucleus of the trigeminal? It supplies muscles of mastication, not muscles of facial expression. The last option, I consider it very related to option number 4. It arises from the second branchial arch. This is wrong. It arises from the first branchial arch. So when we studied the branchial arches, we mentioned that each branchial arch gives rise to certain muscles with their specific nerve supply. The second branchial arch gives rise to muscles of facial expression and gives rise to the facial nerve. While the first branchial arch gives rise to muscles of mastication and their dedicated nerve, the mandibular from the trigeminal, or the third division of the trigeminal nerve. So the correct answer here will be it's involved in the blink reflex.